We are with John Matson from Woodchuck Cider talking about, Woodchuck Cider. How are you, John?
I'm well, thanks. How are you today?
I'm doing well, man. Welcome, welcome. I take pride in Woodchuck because it's made right here in the state of Vermont.
Made in Vermont.
You gotta love it.
You have to love it, absolutely. Yeah, we've been in Vermont since our inception in '91, and we've been here ever since.
And let's go back. Let's go back in time, back in a time when we did not have the benefit of such delicious hard cider on shelves. What brought Woodchuck Cider out? What was the inspiration? Now, I know you weren't there since the inception of the company, but how did it start?
Kind of started by accident, really, in a two-car garage in Proctorsville, Vermont. There was an apple orchard there, and the owner really just hated seeing fruit end up on the ground, so he hired a winemaker to make apple wines. They had a hard time selling apple wines, so they were kind of playing around with different things, and eventually came up with a little green glass bottle, 12-ounce bottle in a six-pack, and Woodchuck Amber was born, and the rest is history.
It's an iconic logo, and I say that because I'm familiar with the product. I'm familiar with the fact that it is a Vermont product, and it's a very famous label and bottle. It's something you recognize, obviously, right?
Certainly, for sure. It stands out on the shelf.
So how did you become involved with Woodchuck Cider?
I kind of fell into it by accident. I was a brewer for many years, and I was working at a brewery in Middlebury, and that job kind of went by the wayside. And a friend of mine told me they were looking for help at the cider plant, and I figured, well, that'll work for me, And so I went over and I dropped off my resume, and they called me back that day. And internally, they were just starting to look into like a product development program, and my resume fit the bill. And I started off packing variety packs and worked in basically all the different areas of the company. And once the money was in the budget for a product development position, they hired me on, and the rest is history.
Were you a fan of the product prior to working for the company, or were you experienced in cider at all, or were you a novice and this was completely new to you?
Honestly, I was probably a bit of a novice. So one of the great things when I did come on with the company was I had the opportunity to work with Greg Failing, who was the founder and started, he was the head cider maker at Woodchuck and created the brand. So I had the opportunity to work with him and learn from him, and really it was, I learned so much, and the rest is behind me, I guess.
So you get to go to work every day doing a job that you love.
I do, yeah, absolutely.
And a job that you can taste.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but yeah.
It's nice that at the end of the day you can go to the cider house and have a pint and be like, yeah, I had a part in creating that, so that's pretty cool.
So that's got to be cool, right?
Absolutely.
Well, what's even cooler is we're getting ready for the 8th annual Brattleboro Brewers Festival. It's happening May 25th. Can't wait. BrattleboroBrewersFestival.com and get your tickets today. Are you going to be with us during our huge Brewers Festival? Are you going to be here?
Unfortunately, it's a child weekend for me, so I can't make it down.
I can relate.
We will be here.
Okay, so. I was going to say, no offense, John, but will Woodchuck Cider be here?
Yeah, Woodchuck will be here, absolutely.
Well, very cool. What are you bringing May 25th? What varieties are you going to be packing?
I believe we're going to be bringing the Kinda Cloudy, 802 Kinda Cloudy cider. It's a new cider that we made. Our Sangria as well, and the Prosecco, I think. That's the three we'll be pouring.
Help me out now, and because I always recognize by labels and bottles, and I think sometimes it may be a seasonal, but there is a Woodchuck that has a white label on it, or am I reaching here?
Maybe in the past. Okay. I think we've moved away from the white label cider. It was a summer cider years ago.
Yeah.
That was certainly with a white label. But the three that we'll be doing are all relatively new. I guess the Prosecco is the first of one of our bubbly ciders that we started producing last year. It's in a beautiful blue can. It's a take on a Prosecco wine. It's a bubbly cider though. It's an apple-based cider that's lightly flavored with pear, and it's very delicious. The Sangria is obviously, it is what it is, right? It's a fruity red cider,
Sounds good. Is it too, it sounds yummy. I gotta be honest with you, John.
It's pretty delicious. There's a lot of fruit flavors going on in that cider, and it may not be one that you drink tons of all day, but it's certainly full of flavor, and it's a flavor experience.
How did ciders become, obviously they're popular, but now they're really popular in terms of the American consumer is not just about beer these days, we're about ciders as well. What brought this on?
I think what brought it on is it's just a great alternative to beer. It's much lighter, I think, than drinking beer most of the time. It's refreshing. It's a great alternative. It makes a great mixer. You can do different things with it. You can make cocktails with cider. pairs with food. There's just many different options with cider, which is pretty cool.
It's very versatile, right?
Absolutely.
And for the raw ingredients that you use to produce these ciders, I assume a majority of these ingredients are from the state, right?
For instance, the 802 cider that we'll be pouring, that is made with 100% Vermont apples that are grown within 20 miles of the cidery up in Middlebury in Addison County. So a lot of apples come from Vermont. We are a very large company, fairly large company, so we do also bring apples in from different regions in the United States and around the world, depending upon what kind of cider we're trying to produce.
Do you have a particular favorite of yours? Like, is that kind of egotistical? This is what I like that I make. But that's fine. I mean, do you have one that you prefer over others?
I prefer the drier ciders myself, and I really like to work with some of the European apple varieties that there's some bittersweets and some cider-specific fruit that lends tannins and some depth and complexity to cider that maybe it isn't for the everyday cider drinker, but those are the ones that I prefer.
I always love those words when we describe ciders or even other beverages, depth and complexity.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
It makes me sound smart, which is pretty tough, but anyways.
Yeah.
So, John, you make the trip down from Middlebury, and obviously Woodchuck cider we can find in stores all over Vermont, right?
All over, yeah. Grocery stores, mom and pop, local chains or whatever, your local bottle shop. Mostly everywhere in Vermont you'll find it.
Do you ever hear, now obviously you're much beloved here in the state, do you ever hear from people outside of Vermont how much they enjoy this product? What's if you can, what was the craziest or farthest away compliment you received in regards to this product?
Oh man, I mean, I know that I've traveled the country working with Woodchuck, and I've talked to people in the Northwest, but the coolest story I've ever heard is we had people drive in. We did a pumpkin cider years ago, and these folks drove in from Western Ohio to buy they basically loaded up their car with the pumpkin cider, and they literally came to do that and then return home. So that was
how
pretty
great
cool.
Is that? Huh?
That's a long drive for a few cases of cider.
But that's pretty awesome. So they pulled the vehicle in the back, and you guys just loaded the cases on there?
Well, the thing is, at the time we were at the old plant. They say we had to send to the beverage store down the street. But they literally came out to visit the plant and to buy the pumpkin because they couldn't get it in Ohio. So.
No, that's awesome. That's a great story.
Pretty wild, yeah.
And then you wave to the family as they drive by, everybody.
Yeah, it was
there
pictures
you go.
in the whole 9 yards.
Oh, that's fantastic. John Matson, would you consider yourself you're a cider maker, correct?
Yeah, I'm the head of cider making at Woodchuck, and I handle all the product development as well. So
we can't wait. Now I know. Listen, you got the kid on that day, May 25th, so you get a pass. But we're glad Woodchuck Cider is going to be with us May 25th. 8th Annual Brattleboro Brewers Festival. It's coming up. Get your tickets today, BrattleboroBrewersFestival.com. Will you do me a favor? Say hi to Alicia up there. She's a really sweet person, all right?
I'll do that for
She's
sure.
in charge of your marketing.
She is, yes, sir.
All right, awesome. John Matson, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You bet. John Matson from Woodchuck Cider.